you'll see that what I've done is I've created a little hole, created a little hole. Today we're going to look at how you make a buttonhole in your knitting work. So obviously you'll need your wool and your needles. You'll also need a separate small skein or ball of the same color wool that's sectioned off, and you're going to need a pair of scissors. So it's really quite simple basically. What we need to do is you want to create a little slit in your work, but then you also have to recreate the stitches again so you can continue on knitting. So what we're going to do is I'm going to knit until I need to create the buttonhole. And then to start off, what we're going to do is really just cast off a few stitches to make the ledge. Now, how many do you cast off? Well, it really depends on the size of your button. It's hard to say what an average size button is or what kind of button you're going to want to use. But as a rule of thumb, I usually put around 3 stitches cast off, and that's often enough to accommodate most buttons. Not tiny, tiny buttons, not huge, huge buttons, but just sort of an average size button. 3 stitches should be able to support something like that. You might have to stretch it a bit, but that's okay. Better to be tight than too loose. So what I'm going to do is, so if you'll see here, I've got 6 stitches. I'll start by casting off with these first 2, which means that I'll only have 4 stitches left. So if in your head you're thinking, I want to have 4 stitches between each buttonhole, what you actually need to do is knit 6, because the first 2 are going to be used for casting off, and then you'll pass 1 stitch over the other, and that will carry over, so you're only going to have 4 left. So now this is the reason why we need the extra skein of wool or little ball of wool, because now for the next row we have to cast on new stitches to replace the 3 we cast off, and you can't do that with the same piece of yarn, it just won't work. So I'm going to knit until we need to create those stitches. Okay, so now once we're at that final stitch where we reach where the buttonhole goes, we don't need to use that needle for a moment. We take our extra skein. Now if you don't know how to cast on, I do have a video, but I think you would if you're at this stage, but just in case, I've got a video for that. But basically, I create a loop on my opposite finger. I'm not touching that one. I'm not touching the other needle again, just a reminder. And I cast on 3 additional stitches. Okay, now that's it, but I'm done with my finger, and I'm going to continue to knit again the other stitches on my opposite needle. And you'll see that what I've done is I've created a little hole. So we'll do that one more time. So I'm not using the needle with my stitches on it. I'm going to grab my little skein again. What I need to do is, because it's still attached to my work, I'm just making a right mess here, aren't I? Because it's still attached to my work, I need to cut it off. That's why I have the scissors. So it's once again loose. And then I create the loop around my finger again. Right? And then I start knitting. So what you'll see, I'm using the same string I was as previous from my main ball of wool, but I'm just creating stitches on my opposite finger, just like I'm casting on. So I've done those 3. And ta-da! And then once again, I'll just cut the small skein off. So don't cut it too close to your work, because you'll see now there's a couple little loose ends hanging. That's okay. You're going to need to weave those in to hide it, and I do have a video to explain that as well if you don't know. So once you've woven those in and hidden them, you'll have 2 perfectly fine buttonholes. And yeah, you'll see, if you want to see it in practice, I'm actually currently making a nice little cable knit onesie for a baby, and I've done all the buttonholes, and it does look like a mess, but don't worry, it's just going to take a bit of time. But I'm going to weave all of these ends in and hide them, and then I'll have a nice little onesie with a perfect set of buttonholes down the end, and I'll get a nice kind of button that I think will accommodate it well. I'll probably bring this into the button shop to test out how they fit through. So Thanks so much for joining me. That's how you make a buttonhole in knitting. If you have any questions, feel free to comment on this video, or you can connect with me on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, facebook.com/Carla Courtney. I'm at Carla Courtney on Twitter and Instagram, or I've got my website, carlacourtney.com. So thanks so much and happy knitting!